Welcome to College State of Mind, where we delve into the fascinating world of psychology. Before we get started, we want to make it clear that the information provided in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, we are not licensed psychologists or mental health professionals. Therefore, the content discussed should not be considered a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Psychology is a complex field, and individual circumstances can vary greatly. What works for one person may not work for another. It's essential to consult with a qualified mental health professional or psychologist for personalized guidance tailored to your specific needs. Additionally, the opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of any institutions or organizations mentioned. By listening to this podcast, you agree that you are responsible for your own mental health and well-being. If you are experiencing mental health issues or have concerns about your psychological health, please seek a professional. Thank you for tuning into College State of Mind. Now, let's explore the depths of the human mind together. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to College State of Mind, the podcast where we get into all things psychology in relation to college life and being a Black woman in America, because it gets hard out here. It's your favorite psych girly, Breigh. If we haven't met before, what's going on, Miss Girl? Why didn't we tune into the last episode? But you know what? I'm not going to judge you because you're here now. So now we're going to be homegirls because you came here now. So thank you for being here. For everybody that listened to the first episode, thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. Remember, there are suggestion boxes. So if you have anything that you want to add, anything that you want me to touch on, questions, concerns, etc., they will all be available there on the website. Okay? So today's episode is basically just going to be about why do you study psychology? Like, what's the point? More importantly, why are you studying psychology? Is psychology the right major for you? Is this something where you kind of just like it in your free time, but it's not really something that you want to do for your career? What is it? And we're just going to clear that up. Just, make sure everybody understands the real. Because as fun as psych is, it's a lot more than just fun. And I just want to make sure that you all are prepared, and not only prepared, that you're genuinely interested, and that you're not just picking a major because it's popular or it's your friend's major or you don't know what you want to do, so you just throw psych on the paper. I just want to make sure that, none of that happens, and that we're all completely comfortable and content, and that we actually enjoy the major that we pick, because college is not high school. You do not have to take a bunch of classes that you don't like. Sometimes you will have to. You're going to have to take that one math class that you hate, because I'm sorry for all the math bookies out there. I am not one of y'all. I'm not. I don't do math. I don't like math. It's not really my niche. But do I have to take a math class in psych? Of course I do, because you need statistics in psychology. So that's a math class. But, it's just important that you're picking a major that you're really interested in, something that makes you want to go to your lectures, something that's like, okay, I came to college for a reason. I didn't just come here because I'm supposed to be here or because somebody else wanted me here, but you genuinely enjoy what you're studying. And that's incredibly important. So we're going to get into a few different sections on this. The first section is reasons why people study psychology. So these are my personal opinion. This is not, it is my personal opinion, okay? So if you don't agree with that, that's good. I love a good, I love when there are multiple point of views, multiple perspectives. So if you don't agree with something that I say, maybe you want me to explain a little more, something that I talk about, let me know in the suggestion box. Just be like, Bree, you said something the last episode and I really agree with it, girl, and we can talk about it. We can get into it, because that's what College State of Mind is about. Building a community of people where we all feel supported and just pushed by one another. It's just because it's hard out here. College is hard, y'all. College is not easy. It is not Legally Blonde. It is not. Everybody not gonna be Rory from Gilmore Girls, but you just sitting there and you pumping out 8 episodes. Not episodes. Look at me saying episodes. 8 assignments a day. That's not what it is. So it's important that you have a community of people to rely on, a community of people to go to when you need to just relax, or maybe you need motivation, inspiration, and that's where college state of mind comes in, because the college state of mind honestly is just everything that you need. Like, being in a college state of mind is not just, I'm going to class and doing what I got to do. It's how can I better myself in this period of education, because we all go to school to learn something. As much as you sit in that lecture and you feel like you haven't learned nothing, I promise you a lesson comes from somewhere, even if it's not the subject matter. So it's just understanding that every season that you're in, every state that you're in is important. And regardless of whatever state you're in, I want you to embrace it. I want you to say, okay, I can learn from this. This is happening for a reason. And, know that your college state of mind family is here for you, because we love you and we want to support you. Like, that's really what this is about. This is just about support. So I'm not going to ramble about that no more. We're going to get into the subject. So these are 4 reasons why I personally believe that people study psychology. Either to study themselves, to study other people, sometimes to self-diagnose. You may be sitting like, why have I been in a funk for the past 4 months? So maybe you're like, okay, I want to see the psychological standpoint of things. What in my brain is prohibiting me or blocking me from getting past this, funk that I'm in? Because we all kind of want to understand that. Sometimes it's seasonal, sometimes it's situational, sometimes it's emotional, mental, whatever it is. We all kind of just want to understand what's going on with our own brains, because it's just a very interesting place up there. And sometimes I want to know why certain things are happening, and that's completely understandable. And also to figure out what in the world goes on with the human brain. Like, as complex and as interesting as the human brain is, sometimes I sit back and I'm just like, you really thought that through? Like, you ever just sit, like, even if wherever you live, if you're sitting, or if you take public transportation, you're sitting on the bus, the train, you're in a car, wherever you're at, and people just start acting crazy, and you're just like, something in your mind told you that was okay? Like, something, you had a thought, and you said, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm going to disrupt this bus today, right now, ruin everybody else's morning for fun. Hey, another reason why people want to study psychology, just to understand the human perspective. Understand why maybe the person didn't interrupt the bus because they're having a bad day. Maybe the person interrupted the bus because it's a traumatic experience for them. Maybe, they have trauma riding buses. Maybe they're socially anxious. Maybe they're not actually disrupting the bus. Maybe there's just a lot going on, and your perspective is that it's disruptive for them. They're just incredibly uncomfortable. So the human brain and the human perspective is incredibly complex. There's a lot that goes on, and we don't always understand everything because it's not from our perspective. We all see the world and we view the world very, very, very differently. So someone could see me and I look upset, I look mad, I look pissed because I just have a straight face. But for me, it may be a survival instinct. Maybe I don't like smiling in public because, I feel like people are just going to come up to me and start talking. Because if you're from the city, you know that. Like, you just don't walk around the city with a smile on your face, because then people think they can just approach you. And that makes people really, really uncomfortable. So it's just understanding that we don't always do things for the reason that we perceive it to be done. Everything is not the way that we see it. So that's why I believe people study psychology, just to understand humans, to understand the mind, maybe to understand themselves. Personally, I study psychology because I wanted not only a deeper understanding of the human mind and how it works, but how the human mind helps to forge human connection. So why we may be drawn to certain people, why we may pull away from certain people. And a lot of these things are mentioned and learned in psych. We may get into a few of them, letting y'all know now. But just things like proximity, for example. It's psychologically proven that if you live in a building and you're closer to each other, the people that you live closer to, you're more likely to develop friendships with, which is why a lot of people, I won't say everybody, because everybody's situation is different. But when you go to college, a lot of people become friends with their roommate. I did. Elle, if you're listening to this, hey girl. So it's because of proximity. You're around that person all the time. You live with them. So at a certain point, your brain just says, okay, we see this person all the time. Either we're gonna love them or we're gonna hate them. And 9 times out of 10, they end up being friends. But sometimes it just doesn't work out. But that's one of the things I was kind of interested in. Like, wow, like that's crazy. Like I can literally just become friends with somebody because I see them all the time and they live like right next to me. So simple things, not simple, but complex things like that are kind of what introduced me to psych and introduced my really like my interest. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the word. Being able to recognize what's going on with myself. I'm a big mental health person. Like I love learning about mental health. I love talking about mental health. And one of the biggest things for me is understanding like how my mental is working. Like if I'm sitting somewhere and I'm like, okay, I feel anxious, there's a lot going on, I can't focus on nothing. I know like, okay, I'm getting overstimulated. Like something is going on. And I'm just one of those people where I need to be able to put a name to something. Like if I'm feeling something and I can't really describe it, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it because I just feel like, why can't I explain what's going on with my own body? But again, we're not meant to know everything. We will not know everything because I am a psych major and I'm still learning. I still don't know what goes on in my brain 80% of the time. But, you know, for me, it's important to just be able to recognize and label certain things that are going on because that's what you're taught in psych. You're taught to understand the brain, how the brain functions, how the brain works, you know, just how that happens in real life scenarios. In the future, I will be opening a private practice in therapy. So I'm going to become a therapist, open a private practice, and obviously to open a private practice in therapy, I need to go to school for psych. So it helps that, you know, my career is something that I'm incredibly interested in. Like I said, I love mental health. I love being able to help people through their mental health because there are a lot of tools that are out there that we can all learn, you know, but it takes a push. Everybody doesn't want to go to therapy. Everybody doesn't want to talk about what they're feeling. I was one of those people that hated talking about how they feel. Honestly, you catch me on a bad day, I still don't like talking about how I feel. But the more I learn about psychology, the more I learn about mental health, and the more I get, you know, a better understanding of vulnerability, it's an incredibly important tool to be able to help somebody else, even if you don't want to help yourself. It's incredibly important to know how to help somebody else. But yes, you will have to help yourself before you can help other people. And one of my biggest goals is to be able to help and touch and reach as many people as possible through my private practice. Overall, I want to be able to learn the brain. She is complex, y'all. She is complex. There's a lot that goes on in the brain that I haven't even learned yet. I haven't even touched yet. And sometimes I sit in my psych lecture and I'm just like, she do all this? All of this. And I haven't even gone, like, this is surface level teaching right now. Like I haven't even gone further into it and I'm just like, wow, like we learned a lot around here. So, and I'm just interested in the brain. Like I'm just one of those weirdos that sees a picture of a brain and I get excited. Like, and we are not weirdos, okay? We are still intelligent. But I'm just one of those people, I see it on Pinterest and I'm like, oh my God, like the human brain is so cool. Like that's just me. That's just how I am. Now, this is the part that you really came for. How do I know psych is for me? Psychology can be a very popular major. I will be honest and say that a lot of times I feel like majors may not be chosen for interest. They may be chosen for popularity, maybe for how do I say it? Like perception of difficulty. I think, and it's a very valid thing to do. Like, it's your first semester. You don't really know what you want to do, but you know what you want to do, but you know you don't want to do a whole lot. So you pick one of the majors that you don't got to do a whole lot. I get it. I understand. Hey, I'm a college student too. I get it, y'all. But when it comes to psychology, it's incredibly important that you're not just doing it to do it. Like, you have a reason, you have an inspiration, a motivation, whether it's your career, whether it's you're just interested in it, whether it's you just want to learn about it, you want to continue to further your understanding. Like, you have to go into psychology with some kind of interest. It's not one of those majors where you can just like, you just don't like it and you just thug it out anyway, because it's hard. I can only speak as a psych major because the only other major I've had, sociology, like, I wasn't in it that long, so I can't really talk about the experience of a sociology major. I can only speak from my point of view. Psychology is incredibly difficult. Psychology is one of those majors where you have to like it, because if you do not like it, you will lose motivation for it. I think that's with any major, but especially with psych, because psych has a lot of terminology to it. There are a lot of studies and people from like 1756 that you need to know about, and psychologists, scientists, experiments. Like, there's just a lot of things that go into this major, and it's important to understand that it's not a major that you can kind of just like, like, I can miss like 10 lectures in the whole semester and never take a test, or, never, study for my test and I can pass. Like, it's just not one of those. And if you do pass the first semester and your career needs psychology, it's not going to help in the long run. Because in the long run, if you're like me, you're going to become a therapist in the future. You have to know this terminology. You have to be able to say, okay, my client is experiencing these 5 things. These 5 things match this term, so I can diagnose them with X, Y, and Z. You have to be able to know those things off the back of your head. Like, you can't sit in your therapy session with your social psych textbook from sophomore year, like, let me just flip through this, and girl, give me a sec. I know you going through it, but I don't really know how to, like, you can't do that. It's really a lot like being in the medical field. It's a lot of terminology. This is my computer. It's a lot of terminology, a lot of things that you need to know and understand from the back of your head. So it's like, you can't just go in there and do anything. So I'm gonna get into a few questions that you should ask yourself before declaring any major, really, but before declaring yourself as a psych major or going in as a psych major. So the first question: do I truly enjoy learning new concepts that may be challenging? As I said before, psych is hard. I would say my biggest difficulty in learning psychology is a lot of the terms sound alike, but they mean completely different things. Like, maybe they both start with a T and they both end with an M, but they mean like opposite ends of what you're learning. And if you mess that up on a test, like, your teacher is not gonna sit there like, oh, but they sound alike, so I'm gonna give her the point anyway. That ain't how they go. That is not how that goes. You have to know it. And one of the biggest things also is you have to study. I'm going to be 1,000% honest. If you don't like studying, psychology is not the major for you. It's not. Because it's not, unless you have photographic memory and you can just remember things like that. Like, you see it on a paper one time and you know it, you're going to have to study. I was one of those people in high school. My whole life, really, before college, I never really had to study. And this is not like me bragging or anything. Like, I learn things pretty quickly. Like, it doesn't take me very long to learn something. I just have to associate it with something else. So before college, I was just like, I don't study. Like, what's studying? I don't need that. Got to college, took my first psych test. This is a vulnerability moment, y'all. I failed my first psych test. And I was like, I was so humbled in that moment. I was like, okay. We're going to have to change something. And I'll be honest, I did not do as well as I wanted to on every single psych test that I took. I didn't. At least my second semester. First semester was cute. I did really well on all my tests. But second semester, it was hard. I was like, what is this? Like, actually, what is this? And it doesn't help when you have a professor that like you can't really connect to, or I don't want to say the word boring, but yeah, like you're not just interested in, they don't make you want to learn. Like my professor was not, put it like this, I didn't really like going to lectures. I went, like I always like I went, but I didn't like going because she wasn't very interesting. She didn't make me want to sit and listen about psych for an hour and a half. I'd rather read the textbook than like listen to her. And it made it really difficult to retain information. So that was one of my biggest, problems. Just going in thinking that I don't have to study, and then teaching myself how to study while you're in the middle of school it's hard. Like it's not something that you really want to do. My advice to people who are either incoming freshmen, you're a high school student, or maybe like you're just on summer break, I would advise, if you don't have a study method that you're using that is tried and true, 90 and 100 on every test that you ever take, I would recommend trying out some new ones over the summer, just because it's really difficult to implement new study habits in the middle of the school year. I mean, is it impossible? No. It's difficult because you're going to have to teach yourself to study and then teach yourself what you're studying at the same time. So it's just a little bit much for me. If you can teach yourself a new study hack and learn it and get that 95 on the next test, girl, I want to be like you when I grow up. And you know what? Try it. But honestly, it's just important to have a study habit, have a study method, a study hack that you use that works and that works. Don't be like me and think that you can go to school without ever studying. That was my second semester mistake. I was like, I don't need to study. I got this. Got humbled real quick. So if you enjoy challenging topics, psychology is definitely the major for you. If you're someone who enjoys a challenge, definitely the major for you. But if you're someone who isn't really looking to learn from a major that is going to challenge you more than you think it is, I wouldn't recommend psychology. Like, I just wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend a major that kind of like, in a way, forces you to rethink everything you've ever been taught, because you're learning like, okay, I thought all my life that the reason I thought like this and I did this was because of me. And you're learning like there are other things that influence how you are, who you are. And psychology is just one of those majors you're always going to learn something new. You're always going to learn something challenging, sometimes maybe a little off-putting, like, no way you just taught me that in the middle of a lecture. But, it's just one of those majors that is ever evolving, ever changing. So you're always going to have to learn and adapt to new topics. So if you don't like that, I wouldn't recommend it. If you still want to try it, that's all you, girl. But this is me from my personal experience. Okay, question number 2. Does psychology actually interest me? Yes, I put this question in there. Yes, it's important. You may be looking at me like, Bree, why would I major in something that I don't like? People do it. People do it. And people do it for a bunch of reasons. Like, maybe you want to open a business and you're a business major, or at least you want to be a business major, but for some reason you go into something like accounting, or you're a computer science major that wants to open a business at some point. Like, people, you don't have to major in something that you like. It helps if what you like, what you major, and what your career is all kind of align. I think it makes life a lot easier. But again, everybody takes college differently. Everybody does their education differently. So hey, whatever works for you. If you want to take a major that you absolutely hate, I ain't gonna be there with you, sister. I won't be there with you, but I will support you. College State of Mind will always be here for you. But it's not something I would do. It's just not, because it makes it harder. The biggest thing that people do not talk about in college is sometimes you just don't want to be there anymore. The atmosphere is amazing, but you're ready for class to be over. When I tell you spring semester came around and I said, I feel like this is longer than winter semester. And at my school, spring semester is quite literally 2.5 months. I don't even think it's 2.5. I think it's literally 2 months. And I would sit in lectures and be like, I'm so over this. I want to go. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the only thing that kept me going was, girl, how are you going to be a therapist, get your doctorate, you don't even have a bachelor's? Embarrassing. Like, how are you going to do that? So it was one of those things that was just like, I have a goal. And in order to reach my goal, I have to do step one. Like, this is Ready Player One. Like, I'm only level 1 of the game. Like, I'm level 1. And if I don't pass level 1, I can't get anywhere else. So for me, it was, I love psych. I love learning about psych. Maybe my professor is boring my eardrums right now. Maybe she is just talking and whatever she's saying is not registering in my mind, but I need to find a way to understand it. I need to find a way to teach it to myself, because if I don't, I will fail. And I cannot help all of the children that I want to help and I want to be there for if I can't learn the tools necessary to help them. It's not going to work. It won't work. And I would never do something like that. So it's just important that you have interest in your major, because it's going to push you the days you really don't want to be in school anymore. The days that you don't want to go to your lecture, that you don't want to do any work. Because burnout happens, burnout exists. There are days you will wake up and you're just like, no, I'm going to sit in my bed today. And there are other days you wake up and you're like, yes, I done did 6 assignments all on time. Maybe I did them early. I got free time. Like, there are just days that you're going to be more on your Zoom. Days you're going to be just on top of it more than others. And the days that you aren't, you got to find a way to push through. Because if not, you wasting somebody's money. And you're wasting your time. Aside from whoever's paying for school, even if you go to school for free, you're wasting your time. Because you're sitting in a class, you're sitting in a lecture that you don't care about, you're not learning anything from, and you just letting time go by. So it's either you pick a major that you can learn, you pick a major that you love, you pick a major that will help you, that will propel you into the career that you want, or you quite literally go to college and waste 4 years of your life. And that's just that. So if you're not interested in psych and you're taking psych for the fun of it, if you're interested in it and you're taking it for the fun of it, have fun. But if you're just taking it and you don't even care about it, it's kind of just like, don't waste your time. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, do not waste your time, because it's not an easy A. It's not one of those classes that you can just add onto your transcript and you're like, yeah, I got an A and I did nothing. No, like, you're going to have to do work. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't like that, then definitely, like, don't take the class, but definitely don't make it a major. Like, just don't make it a major. And that's from one psych major to another. Don't make it a major. The final question is, will being a psych major further my career? As I said before, college is not like high school. You can literally pick the classes you want. Obviously, once you declare yourself a major, you have to take a certain amount of classes in the parameters. So, like, I'm a psych major, as we all know by now. And as part of my major, I have to take statistics. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not a math girl. I'm not a STEM girly. To all my STEM girlies, I applaud y'all with the most applause I can create, because it's not for me. It's not for me. But in order to fully declare as a psych major, fully get my degree, I need to take statistics. So you will have to take classes that you don't like, that align with your major. You may have to take gen eds that you just don't like, but you need to pass because they're general requirements and you can't get your degree without it. But the things that you can control and the things you can take, I always recommend taking something that's interesting, something that you like, and not just interesting, something that will also further your career at the same time. Because as much as 4 years sounds like a very long time, it's not. 4 years goes by very quickly, And once you get that degree, once you get that you completed 4 years of school, you have to do something with your life after that. It's not just like, oh, you go to college for your degree and then you do nothing with the degree. Because what was the point of going to school? What was the point of going to college if you were going to do nothing with the education that you were given from that institution? So if you major in something that helps your career, it definitely makes life easier. It makes jobs, internships, opportunities like that a little more in your grasp, in your reach, because you're doing things that will further your career in the future. So, if you're into musical theater, if one day, you want to sing on Broadway, or you just want to, like, if musical theater is your jam, do not major in psychology. Unless you want, like, unless there's a way that you've, like, woven the two, which would be very interesting. Please let me know if any of y'all are just like have figured out a way to kind of wove the two together. Because if you have, I want to know about it. Like, I'm like, how you do that? But if you want to go into a career of musical theater, I would not advise psychology being your major unless you're going to do something with that. And even still, if musical theater is more your priority, make musical theater your major, and then you can minor in psych, take however many psych classes you want. But the major that you pick should go to your priority, should go to whatever career you are choosing, because that is what's going to have the bulk of your time. Like, yes, you take extracurriculars. Yes, you have free time. Yes, you have to take other classes. But in the end, your major, when you look at it, your major is going to have the most time than anything else. Because, girl, they call it a major for a reason. They don't call it a major to give you, like, a class. Or you take one psych class and you can declare yourself a major, and then you graduate having only taken one psych class as a psych major. Like, it doesn't work like that. And that's okay. So, all in all, just, wrap this episode up. The main thing that you want to ask yourself is, why do I want to study psychology? What is the point? Is it helping me? Is it, hurting me in the sense that it's holding me back from something? Is this something that I can commit my time to, my energy to, my mind to, honestly, because you're going to have to learn. Like, you go to school to learn, girl. So, is psychology something that's really for you? If it's not, that's okay. I will not feel any way towards it. I'm I'm a psych major, y'all. But that does not mean that the only thing I enjoy is psychology. It just means that I love me some psych. Like, what? I love me some psych. Don't play. But if you figure out and you realize that psych is not a major for you, that's okay, because guess what? College got about 100 of them. You can pick for whatever you want. So just make sure that whatever you're doing it for the betterment of yourself. That in the end, you and your education will be better for it. And if they're not, then switch majors until you find the one that really does it for you, really helps you and propels you into the future. So, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please, if you're listening to us on Spotify, download. If you are here on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you hated it, that's okay too, because you know what? Life is all about perspective. So leave comments down below, interact with us, check out the website, collegestateofmind.net, and follow us on every single platform that we're on, because the community is building, and honestly, either you get on the train or you get left at the station. Okay? But that's just it. The next episode, next week, we'll be talking about a day in the life of a psych major. And by a psych major, I mean me. But, we're going to have to put some, psych tweaks on it, because every major's day in the life looks incredibly different. Some majors have labs. Some majors have practice. Some majors, every major has something different. So I want to give you guys a little taste, a little snippet of what it's like to be a psych major, because if this is what you're doing, this is what you want to do, you're going to need some insight. And if you're already a psych major, let me know what's a little different from your day in life than mine, because, I want to know. But I want to thank you guys again for tuning into this video. If you stayed this long, please let me know in the comments. If you did not, Well, I don't know because you didn't tell me in the comments. But I love you guys. Remember to always embrace the state. It does not matter what state of mind you're in. As long as at some point you're in that college state of mind and you're locked into your goals, that's what matters. So I love you guys. And I'm going to see you in the next episode. Okay?